They didn't just try to block your light. They built entire strategies hoping to dim it. But what they didn't know was this: when the universe marks a soul, no amount of shadow can rewrite that glow. They called you crazy, didn't they? Said you were too sensitive, too paranoid, said you were imagining things. But behind closed doors, they were plotting, watching, scheming, turning your name into a topic, your loyalty into leverage, your pain into punchlines, smiling in your face, studying your every move, hoping for a misstep they could spin into scandal. And still, you stood tall. Still, you kept rising. They mocked you when you lost, disappeared when you needed them, clapped the loudest when others turned on you. They clung to your energy just to drain it, fed off your silence to feel superior, copied your essence and called it their own, but never clapped when you won. No, they didn't want to see you win. They wanted to see you worn out. They didn't want to see you healed. They wanted to see you hollow. So before we go any deeper, Chosen One, do this right now. Hit that like button, smash that subscribe, and drop a comment with 777 if you feel this energy already hitting something real inside you. That one small click signals the platform to push this message further, to reach others like you. Others who've been quietly enduring, carrying weight that doesn't belong to them, and waiting for the confirmation that yes, the universe sees it all. We are rising together, and your support makes sure this light doesn't stop here. Now, let's talk about what they didn't see coming. See, they thought you were just another soft heart with no backup, just another empath they could manipulate. But what they never realized, until now, is that your silence wasn't surrender. It was surveillance. Your setbacks weren't losses, they were setups. The things they thought broke you were actually building the blueprint for their own downfall. From the moment you walked into the room, their spirits were uneasy, not because you did anything wrong, but because you exposed everything fake in them without even trying. They saw your peace and felt panic. They saw your energy and called it too much, when deep down they were scared of what they couldn't control. Your presence was a reminder that there's something bigger behind you, something untouchable. You became the reflection they couldn't run from. They studied you like a puzzle they couldn't solve. They watched, waited, and hoped you would crack. But no matter how many times you stumbled, you didn't shatter. And that's what terrified them. Because your glow isn't manufactured. It's inherited, ancient, cosmic, unbothered. You ever notice how the most broken people felt the need to compete with you even when you weren't competing? How those who did the least had the most to say? That's because your existence alone was judgment to them. The truth wrapped in skin. And when the truth shows up, masks get uncomfortable. The ones who smiled in your face but plotted in private weren't confused. They were exposed, and the universe allowed it all. For one reason, so their hidden agendas could be used as evidence against them. That's the part they never calculated, that while they were moving in silence, the universe was recording in stillness every lie, every shady comment, every passive-aggressive jab. And now, what they thought was hidden is unraveling in the open, not by your hands, but by the very energy they sent out. Because when you're chosen, the universe doesn't just protect you, it defends you, quietly, strategically, and when it responds, it hits where it hurts most: their reputation, their peace, their position. Chosen One, you're not just surviving betrayal, you're rising from it, stronger, louder, untouchable. They wanted you broken so they could say you were never built right in the first place. But now they're watching in disbelief as the same fire they lit is casting light on their darkest intentions. And what can they do now? Nothing, because the more they speak, the more they expose themselves, the more they move, the deeper they fall. They can't unring the bell. They can't silence what's already being echoed in energy. So if you've ever asked yourself, why me? This is your answer. Because you were built to expose what pretends to be real. Because you were chosen to walk through fire and come out with the kind of proof no fake apology can erase. Because your pain wasn't pointless, it was preparation. And now the truth is standing tall, draped in your resilience, surrounded by the ruins of every secret agenda sent to destroy you. The universe has exposed them all and served them exactly what they ordered. And hey, chosen one, don't go anywhere, because what you just heard, that was only the trailer. The real picture is about to begin. The whispers, the betrayals, the hidden fears they carry around your power. That's just the surface. Now we go deeper. So, are you ready to dive into the truth step by step? Then drop the number 77 in the comments if you're ready to embrace your isolation as the foundation of your transformation. And if this message already sparked something in your soul, consider blessing the team with a super thanks, because every gift, big or small, fuels this mission to spread the light even further. And now, let's dive into it, one layer at a time. And believe me, if you're truly one of the chosen, you'll feel the pull to stay till the very end. Why? Because when people fear your light, your silence, your guidance, it's not just you they fear. It's the protection around you they'll never understand. Let's get started. Number 1. Your aura shakes rooms before you speak. Your aura shakes rooms before you speak. You never had to swing first. They flinched the moment your presence entered the room. That's the power of being chosen. You don't walk in, you arrive. Before you even open your mouth, they feel it. That tension in the room, that sudden shift in energy, that's not coincidence, it's you. You've probably wondered why certain people look uncomfortable around you, why they suddenly go silent when you show up, or why the air feels heavy with unspoken things. Chosen one, that's not your imagination. That's your aura doing the work for you. They feel your frequency before they hear your voice. And for those with hidden agendas, that frequency feels like a threat. See, your energy doesn't just walk in, it interrupts. You don't have to expose them with words. You expose them with presence. You ever seen how snakes squirm under sunlight? That's what happens when fakeness meets authenticity. That's what happens when someone who's guided, protected, and aligned steps into a space built on performance and ego. They know something is different about you. They can't explain it, but they can feel it. The way you hold yourself, the way you don't beg for attention, the way you stay calm while chaos tries to stir itself around you. It's magnetic, and it terrifies them. Not because you're loud or aggressive, but because you're grounded. You walk like someone who's backed by something bigger than pride. And people who live on manipulation and control hate what they can't shake. Let's be real. They'll call you intimidating when you haven't even said a word. They'll call you arrogant simply because you don't shrink to make them comfortable. They'll call you strange because you're not moved by the same distractions they are. But all of that, that's fear disguised as criticism. You are the reminder of everything they're pretending to be. You ever wonder why they group up just to go against you? Why they bond over their dislike of you instead of standing tall alone? Because your presence, chosen one, exposes their insecurities. It's not what you say, it's what you represent. You are the test they keep failing silently. Think about the greats. Muhammad Ali didn't need to swing to get attention. His presence alone rattled opponents. Prince could walk into a room dressed in a way no one else would dare, and people froze. Maya Angelou could speak softly and still silence a stadium. These weren't just people, they were energies, walking storms. Their spirit disrupted everything built on fraud, on fear, on fragile ego. So when you feel people withdraw from you, when you notice the shift in tone, the tension in their laugh, the hesitation in their words, that's not rejection, that's recognition. They recognize the power, the clarity, the unshakable presence that surrounds you, and it terrifies them, because in you they see everything they tried to bury in themselves. They know you're different. They might never say it, they might never admit it out loud, but they feel it in their bones. They feel it when they try to lie in your face and suddenly stutter. They feel it when they plan something behind your back and it falls apart before they even execute it. They feel it when they try to size you up and realize there's no blueprint for your kind of energy. That's the difference between the chosen and the common. You don't need an entrance. You don't need applause. Your spirit does the talking long before your mouth does. You walk in truth, and truth always makes liars panic. And chosen one, don't let them fool you with their fake confidence. The louder they get, the more shook they actually are. The ones who feel most threatened will often mask it with arrogance, sarcasm, or passive aggression. But inside, they're trembling, because deep down, they know they're standing in front of someone the universe has its hands on. You may have wondered, why do people who barely know me act strange around me? Or why do people feel the need to compete with me when I'm not even trying? The answer is simple. Your existence confronts what they've suppressed. Your light shines on their shadows, and that discomfort, that's their soul reacting to the truth it can't escape. Even in silence, you're not invisible. You were never meant to blend in. You weren't built for background roles. Your aura is a front-row announcement that something rare just entered the room, and the fake ones feel it instantly. And here's the truth they don't want to face. They wish they had it. That level of calm, that knowing, that inner balance. But they can't replicate it because it's not something you can copy. It's something you carry. You didn't get it from the world. You got it from walking through hell and still refusing to come out bitter, from surviving sabotage and not needing revenge to feel whole, from knowing that you don't need to chase validation when the universe already signed off on your existence. So let them stare, let them flinch, let them whisper and wonder. Every time you enter a room and the energy shifts, that's not tension, it's confirmation. Your presence alone is proof that being chosen isn't about noise, it's about impact. You shake rooms not by force, but by alignment. You expose enemies not by calling them out, but simply by being too real for their comfort. And that, chosen one, is a power no one can steal, fake, or replicate. So walk in like you belong, because the room knew you were coming before you even stepped in. Number 2. They whisper impossible until you survive it. They whisper impossible until you survive it. They said you wouldn't make it, but you did. They said you'd fall apart, but you didn't. They called it impossible until you walked through it like it was part of your story. Chosen one, let's make something clear right now. They never truly believed in your downfall. Not really, because deep down, they feared what would happen if you actually made it. That's why they whispered. That's why they laughed low. That's why their support came wrapped in sarcasm, and their advice felt more like sabotage. They didn't want to see you fail because they thought it was inevitable. They wanted to see you fail because your survival would confirm everything they were trying to deny. They looked at your circumstances and said, "There's no way they're coming back from this." They saw the storm and thought, "That'll break them." They watched you go through betrayal, heartbreak, isolation, and loss, and assumed it would be the end of your story. But it wasn't. It was the beginning of their exposure. Because every time you survived what should have shattered you, you made their doubt look ridiculous. You didn't just survive, you grew, and they hate that. They whispered impossible when they saw what you were facing. Maybe it was financial collapse, betrayal by someone close, or a season of loss so deep it swallowed your will to even move. They didn't think you were coming back from that. They counted you out, marked you done. But instead, you kept rising, quietly, relentlessly, and now they're scrambling for explanations. Because the math doesn't add up in their world. In their world, people break. In their world, trauma ruins. But in your world, the universe was always working behind the scenes, building something they never saw coming. And now they're looking confused, wondering how you're still standing, wondering how you're still smiling, wondering how you're still breathing with peace after everything you went through. They won't say it, but they're shook. Because to them, this wasn't supposed to be survivable. But you didn't just survive. You flipped it. You turned it into purpose. You turned it into power. You ever notice how quiet they get when you rise? How suddenly their opinions vanish when your results start speaking? That's because the impossible they spoke over you just became the proof that their vision was limited. You became the walking contradiction to their expectations. You became evidence that something greater has always been guiding and covering you. And let's be real, this wasn't luck. This wasn't coincidence. You didn't stumble through the fire and accidentally come out whole. This was protection. This was cosmic design. This was proof that the universe had its hand on you the whole time. And every time they said, "There's no way," the universe said, "Watch this." They tried to explain your comeback with logic, but there's no spreadsheet for what you carry. You're not successful because you had resources. You're still here because you had resilience. You were divinely equipped for storms they would have drowned in. Think of all the moments they thought it was over for you. Think of all the times you cried in silence, walked through pain without answers, and kept showing up while carrying invisible wounds. That wasn't weakness. That was evidence. Evidence that your life is covered by something they can't manipulate. Evidence that your journey is protected, even when it's under attack. They don't understand how you kept going, how the hits kept coming, and you kept getting up. They don't know the nights you had to talk yourself out of quitting. They don't know the prayers you whispered into your pillow, or the strength it took just to show your face like everything was fine. But chosen one, you were never alone. And every time they thought, surely this one will break them, the universe was already stitching your next chapter in silence. Let's not sugarcoat it. Some of them were hoping you wouldn't survive. That's the ugly truth. They were watching from a distance, waiting for the final crack. Because if you could rise from that, then they'd have to admit that something bigger is moving in this world. And most of them aren't ready to face that truth. You challenged their logic just by surviving. You challenged their ego by not folding. You challenged their intentions by turning pain into purpose. You didn't just disappoint their predictions, you dismantled them. And now, you're the living example of what hidden protection looks like. You want to know why some of them distanced themselves from you after your breakthrough. It's because your survival made their hate look stupid. Because after everything they said, they don't know how to stand beside someone who disproved every doubt they spoke. You proved them wrong, and you didn't have to say a word. That's what hits the hardest. And here's the truth. They never hated you. They hated that they couldn't stop you. They hated that no matter what was thrown at you, you wouldn't quit. They hated that your light was too stubborn to dim, even in the darkest rooms. Chosen One, your track record is your proof. Your scars are your credentials. You don't need anyone's approval because the results are loud. And the ones who said impossible are now being forced to admit that something about you just doesn't break. You are the walking reminder that the universe will carry those who are chosen, even when everything around them is trying to drag them down. And now those whispers of impossible have turned into silence. Because what can they say when you already made it through everything they hoped would destroy you? They tried to write your ending before you hit your breakthrough, but now the story's still being written, and every page turns in your favor. Let them whisper, let them doubt, because by the time they realize what's really covering you, it'll be too late to take credit, and far too painful to ignore. Number 3, thick skin, cosmic backbone. They thought that what broke them would break you too. They thought if they hit you hard enough, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, you'd finally fold. But here you are, chosen one, still standing, still rising, still carrying peace that makes them uncomfortable. And you didn't get here by accident. You got here through the fire. The difference. While hardship turns most people cold and bitter, it polished you. You didn't just survive what others couldn't handle, you grew from it, evolved, transformed. That's what scares them. They saw you go through hell and expected a shell of a person to come out. Instead, you walked out glowing with more focus, more wisdom, and more power than ever. That's not just tough skin, that's a cosmic backbone. See, when the universe chooses you, it doesn't shield you from all pain. It strengthens you through it. The storm wasn't there to destroy you. It was there to reveal what couldn't be shaken. You might have cried in silence. You might have walked alone. But every tear was witnessed. Every step you took without support was noted. You weren't abandoned. You were conditioned, built different, structured by something greater than this world understands. And they can't figure it out. They're asking themselves, how did they get up from that? How are they not bitter? How can they still smile after everything they've faced? Because they only know how to fake strength. You earned it. They crumble at conflict. You get sharper. They run from pain. You use it as fuel, and that's why your presence exposes their weakness. Not because you flaunt your scars, but because you've learned to carry them like medals. You ever wonder why certain people keep testing your limits? It's because they're trying to find the breaking point you don't have. They throw shade, play mind games, and pull back their support just to see if you'll beg or snap. But you don't. Because your backbone isn't held up by ego, it's reinforced by the universe. And when someone is protected like that, there's nothing you can do to stop them that won't bounce back harder. So let them talk, let them push, let them watch, because the more they try to crack you, the more they reveal that their own foundation was built on sand. You weren't made for easy paths. You were made to walk through what would crush others and come out clearer, calmer, and more chosen than ever. Number 4, faith that frightens the fakers. Nothing unnerves fake people more than someone who refuses to panic. You ever notice that? When they plot against you, throw shade behind your back, pull strings to block your path, they expect a reaction. They expect you to crumble, to lash out, to beg. But you, chosen one, you do something that sends chills down their spine. You release it to the universe and keep walking. That kind of faith. It's terrifying to them. You don't chase revenge. You don't obsess over outcomes. You move in silence with a calm they can't replicate. And that calm, that's what drives them crazy, because they need chaos to feel in control. But your peace? It tells them that something greater than them is guiding your path, and it's out of their reach. Fakers thrive in environments where people fight back emotionally. That's their playground. But your quiet trust in timing, your ability to let go and let the universe handle it, takes their power away. They feel helpless, and that helplessness turns to fear. Because now they're not just fighting you, they're fighting the current of something cosmic they can't manipulate. They ask themselves, why aren't they panicking? Why do they still look so focused after everything we tried? The answer is simple. You've seen what happens when you let go and let the universe take control. You've witnessed setups collapse without lifting a finger. You've seen doors open that no one could have opened but divine timing itself. So now your trust isn't a theory. It's a lived truth. And that faith, it exposes the fakers, because they can't fake trust. They can't fake alignment. They can't fake peace. So while they mock you, secretly they study you, trying to figure out how someone who's been lied on, excluded, and targeted still walks like they're untouched. And what they don't understand is, it's not that you're untouched, it's that you're undefeated. They tried everything they could to disturb your focus, but you handed the situation over to a force they'll never understand, and let that force handle the cleanup. And that, chosen one, is why they're trembling. Because no matter how loud they get, your silence still wins. Number 5. Walking proof of phenomena they deny. You walk into a room and they scoff. You speak your truth and they roll their eyes. They hear your story and call it luck. Because what you represent, chosen one, doesn't fit their logic. You are the living, breathing proof of everything they said couldn't happen. You are the walking contradiction to their disbelief. And that's why they fear you, mock you, and quietly obsess over you. See, the world loves control. It loves facts, boxes, labels, things it can measure and understand. But you were never meant to be explained. You were meant to be witnessed. You're the storm they didn't see coming. The survivor they swore would never rise again. The name they tried to bury that keeps being mentioned in rooms they can't even enter. And what scares them the most? You didn't play by their rules, and you still won. You embody the very miracles they deny. They said energy doesn't shift reality, but you walked into their circle, and nothing's been the same since. They laughed at manifestation, but now they're watching you live out everything you once whispered in faith. They said protection is just a fantasy, but nothing they threw at you stuck. Every trap collapsed, every rumor boomeranged, and now they're quiet. Because even skeptics shut up when results slap them in the face. And maybe you've heard them before. You're delusional. You're too deep. You're imagining things. But deep down, they know what they saw. They watched you rise from ashes without help. They watched your name get cleared without a courtroom. They watched peace return to your life while theirs turned into silent chaos. It's not just your glow-up that hurts them, it's what your glow-up proves. You are proof that the universe intervenes, that energy protects, that alignment is real. You are proof that intentions matter, even when no one else sees them. You are proof that what's meant for you doesn't need to be forced, chased, or explained. It just is. And that reality, it wrecks their narrative. Because if you're real, then everything they mocked suddenly becomes possible. And that's a truth they're not ready to face. You didn't ask to be the evidence, but you are. Your existence makes noise without you raising your voice. And now they're choking on the silence. Number 6, ancient bloodline, modern impact. They thought they were just messing with you, just another person, just another target. But what they didn't know, what they could never comprehend, is that when they came for you, they awakened something far older, far deeper, and far more powerful than they ever expected. You don't walk alone, chosen one. You walk with the fire of generations before you, an ancient bloodline still echoing in your bones. Your strength didn't come from this world. It came from the silent warriors who walked before you, the ones who endured what couldn't be spoken, the ones whose names history may never know, but their resilience lives on in you. That's why your presence feels heavy. That's why rooms shift when you speak. That's why people get uncomfortable around your calm. Because without even saying a word, you carry the weight of legacy. Every time they tried to block you, something unseen blocked them back. Every scheme they plotted fell apart, not because you retaliated, but because the universe keeps receipts your ancestors already paid for. You're not protected by coincidence. You're guarded by alignment. They see one version of you, but they don't see the strength that moves beneath the surface, the kind that can't be faked, copied, or outsmarted. That's why nothing sticks. That's why their whispers go nowhere, because their weapons are new, but your protection is ancient. It was forged through lifetimes of survival, intuition, and spiritual awareness. You're not just someone who made it out. You're someone who was sent back in to break cycles, to silence generational curses, to stand where others fell. And they can feel that, even if they don't understand it. They say, why does this person keep winning? Why doesn't anything bring them down? Because when you're chosen, you're not just living your story. You're finishing the ones that came before you. Your comeback isn't just for you. It's for every soul in your bloodline who never got the chance to rise. And that's what makes your success non-negotiable. So let them watch, let them plot, let them whisper, because they're not just facing you, they're facing thousands of years of spiritual resilience. You are the modern force of an ancient promise. You are the answer your ancestors prayed for, and no weapon formed against that ever wins. Number 9, their fear brands you dangerous. At first, they laughed. Who do they think they are? They whispered. Always talking about energy, alignment, unseen forces. They mocked your awareness, scoffed at your intuition, and rolled their eyes every time you spoke truth that made the air shift. But something happened, didn't it? The same ones who gossiped now speak your name with caution. What used to be jokes has turned into warnings. Because fear always disguises itself as mockery until reality hits. You see, chosen one, their fear wasn't about you. It was about what follows you, what protects you, what moves the moment you decide to trust the unseen. They called it paranormal, weird, or spooky, but what they really meant was untouchable. Because every time they tried to throw dirt, something invisible threw it back. People don't fear what they understand. They fear what they can't control. And you, with your calm presence and eyes that see too much, your energy that speaks before your mouth ever opens, you're not just different. You're dangerous to their illusion. You reveal things without trying. You make liars sweat in silence. Your energy presses on their guilt like a hand they can't remove. And the rumors? They're just fear trying to gain control. They whisper about your powers, your energy, your vibe. They say something about them isn't normal. And they're right. You're not normal. You're aligned, protected, guided, unbothered. You're a mirror they can't lie to, a walking alarm system for anyone carrying hidden agendas. You don't even have to speak. Your presence alone exposes who's real and who's wearing a mask. That's why they warn others in hushed tones. That's why they shift when you walk into the room. They know there's something different about you, even if they can't explain it. And what scares them most, it's not just that you survived. It's that you knew they were fake the whole time and still kept your peace. Let them call you dangerous. That's not an insult. That's confirmation. Because chosen ones aren't safe for the corrupt. You're a storm disguised as silence, a truth bomb walking calmly through chaos. And every rumor they start becomes their own prophecy. You were never the threat. You were the exposure. Number 10. Tests become testimonies publicly. They really thought they had you. They whispered behind curtains, strategized in group chats, rehearsed your downfall like it was guaranteed. To them, it was checkmate. They just knew you'd fold, break, react, implode. But they forgot one thing. When you're chosen, the same tests meant to bury you become the very testimonies that build your throne. Every trap they set, flipped. Every lie they spun, unraveled. Every weapon they formed, jammed mid-strike. And the best part? It didn't happen in secret. It happened in public. Because the universe isn't quiet when it clears a chosen one's name. It doesn't whisper justice. It broadcasts it. They tried to humiliate you in front of everyone, but now those same eyes are watching you rise while they crumble. You didn't have to speak on it. The truth started speaking for you. Circumstances flipped, and suddenly they were the ones explaining. They were the ones squirming. They were the ones trying to change the narrative they built, only to be swallowed by it. That's what happens when you're in alignment. The universe turns every setup into a stage, and what was supposed to be your exposure becomes their undoing. You didn't just survive the fire, they made you the headline. Chosen one, your life became the proof that higher order exists. Every moment of silence they mistook for weakness. Every time you didn't respond. Every tear you held back while they slandered your name. It was all evidence being stacked in your favor. The universe wasn't slow, it was strategic. And now, the same audience that clapped for your failure is witnessing your promotion. The same mouths that cursed your name are now silent in your presence. Your walk has become louder than their lies. You are rising, not out of revenge, but out of revelation. See, they were writing your ending, but the universe had another draft, one where you win, one where they watch. Because nothing hits harder than elevation in the face of opposition. And now, every setback they created has become the spotlight that shines directly on you. You didn't have to fight dirty, you just had to outlast. And now your story isn't one of victimhood, it's vindication. Number 11. The circle tightens, the masks fall. You didn't change. The room just got quieter. The conversations got weird. The energy felt off. People who once cheered you on started acting different. What happened? Your light did what it always does, revealed everything hiding in the shadows. See, chosen one, you never had to ask for exposure. Your very presence does the work. You carry a frequency that, truthfully, not everyone can fake their way through. The closer people get to you, the harder it becomes to wear a mask. And so, one by one, the smiles turned plastic, the support turned stiff, and the alliances began to crumble. The universe has a ruthless way of tightening your circle, not to isolate you, but to protect you. You may not see it at first. You might feel confused, even hurt, as people you once trusted slowly drift, switch up, or even turn cold. But look again. Look deeper. What you lost in numbers, you gained in clarity. That wasn't rejection. That was revelation. The truth is, some people were never for you. They were just near you, close enough to watch, copy, extract, but never committed to your growth. And as you rose, as you got more aligned, their masks couldn't keep up with your pace. That's why things started falling apart. Not because you changed, but because your light forced the truth to surface. People think the universe punishes in big ways. No, sometimes its most powerful justice is quiet. It whispers into the unseen, "Let the masks fall." And suddenly, group chats go silent. The fake check-ins stop. The "I got you" people disappear. It feels like abandonment until you realize it's surgical. The universe was never removing people. It was removing liabilities. And now, chosen one, your circle may look smaller, but it's stronger, genuine, rooted. You don't need quantity when you're backed by quality, and you don't need applause when you're protected by alignment. Let them say you changed. Let them paint you as the one who switched up. That's just the sound of a mask hitting the floor. You didn't expose them. You just showed up fully, and they exposed themselves. The light always does that. It forces the shadows to scatter, so don't grieve the loss of what was fake. Celebrate the revelation of what's real. This is the season of sacred circles, of intentional connections. Let the universe finish its cleanup, because what's coming next requires zero masks, zero pretenders, and only real ones by your side. Number 12, calm in chaos, power in silence. You know who's truly dangerous, the one who doesn't flinch when the fire starts, because they already walked through it and came out forged. They tried to rattle you. They stirred the pot, twisted the stories, provoked your name in conversations you weren't even present for. They wanted panic. They wanted rage. They wanted a meltdown. But instead, chosen one, you gave them silence, stillness, peace. And that's when they knew they weren't just fighting you. They were up against something bigger, something beyond their understanding. Your silence wasn't surrender, it was strategy. That unbothered presence you walk with, that's not just maturity, it's cosmic wisdom. You've learned something they never will. The most powerful storms don't scream, they move. And that's exactly what you did. While they danced around in chaos, trying to draw you into the drama, you stood still and let the universe rearrange the pieces they tried to scatter. Let's be real, they expected fireworks. They expected noise, because that's how they operate. Loud, reckless, attention-seeking. But when you didn't match their energy, it backfired. You became a mirror they couldn't escape. Your calm made them anxious. Your stillness felt like thunder. Because to someone unstable, peace is louder than war. They didn't understand that your strength comes from alignment, not from proving a point. You don't need to bark back at gossip when the truth is already in motion. You don't need to post a clapback when the universe is already rewriting the script in your favor. Your stillness, it was never weakness. It was proof you trusted the process more than the performance. And let's not forget, they tested you because they assumed you'd break. But what they didn't factor in was this: you've been broken before and rebuilt stronger every time. That's why you don't fear pressure anymore. You are pressure. That's why they're confused. You should be angry. You should be defending yourself. You should be out for revenge. But you're not. You're walking in purpose, untouched, focused. And that quiet strength is more terrifying to them than any retaliation could ever be. Here's what they'll never say out loud. Your silence exposes their noise. Your calm reveals their chaos. And your refusal to play their game shows them exactly how small their control over you truly was. You've outgrown their drama. You've outlived their sabotage. And you've outshined their darkness without raising your voice once. They'll call it arrogance. They'll say you're cold. But that's just their fear talking, because you didn't give them the breakdown they hoped for. You gave them distance. You gave them quiet victory. And now, as they spiral trying to reclaim power, you're simply rising, unshaken, unmoved, undeniable. That's what it means to be chosen, not just to survive the chaos, but to stay still in it and watch it collapse around you while you remain rooted. Your silence isn't empty, it's full of power, it's full of purpose, and it's full of the kind of resilience that turns storms into stepping stones. Let them talk, let them twist, let them try again. You've already won, because you never needed noise to make an impact. You were the impact, and they felt it the moment you didn't respond. Number 13. Elevation is the revenge they never expected. They threw dirt on your name thinking it would bury you, only to realize it fertilized your rise. Chosen one, let's call it what it is. They didn't want peace with you. They wanted your silence to mean surrender. They hoped your absence meant defeat, your stillness. They misread it as brokenness. But here you are, rising, glowing, thriving, louder than ever without making a sound, and it's tearing them apart from the inside out. They counted on you disappearing, quietly slipping away. They thought the weight of the betrayals, the false narratives, the losses, and the isolation would crush you, that you'd finally fold. But they never understood what you were really doing in the shadows. You weren't hiding, you were healing. You weren't retreating, you were rising. And now that you're standing again, taller, freer, more powerful, it's the revenge they never saw coming. Because your rise didn't come through payback, it came through alignment. While they were obsessed with watching you fall, you were busy walking into your next season. And that alone is what has them unraveling now. Not your anger, not your reaction, but the reality that you made it without needing them. Let's speak on what really happened. They chose ego, envy, and manipulation, thinking you were nothing without their approval, their validation, their network. But what they forgot is that elevation doesn't come from them. It comes from resilience. And you, chosen one, have turned pain into power so many times that it no longer surprises you. It empowers you. They thought you'd beg. Instead, you built. They thought you'd crawl back. Instead, you flew past them. They thought they could define your limits, but you became limitless the moment you stopped trying to be understood and started walking fully in your truth. The most powerful part? You didn't even need to expose them. You just kept growing, and your glow became the evidence, the success they can't deny, the joy they can't dim, the peace they can't access. That's what eats at them now. Because when someone believes they had the power to destroy you, nothing haunts them more than watching you rise without needing a single piece of what they tried to take. Your healing became the clapback, your elevation the loudest response, and the silence they once laughed at. It's now the sound of their regret, echoing louder than any accusation they ever made. They never expected this. They never expected you'd be the one walking into new doors while they're stuck behind the ones they tried to slam shut on you. They thought your story ended at your lowest, but now they're realizing that was just your beginning. So keep rising, keep glowing, let them talk, let them wonder, let them watch. Because the truth is, your elevation isn't just survival, it's proof. Proof that the universe never abandoned you. Proof that chosen ones don't just bounce back. They break limits, silently, powerfully, and without needing to prove a single thing. Number 14. The peace they tried to steal becomes your weapon. They waged war on your spirit, hoping to steal your peace, only to find out your silence was a sword sharper than their hate. Chosen One, they didn't just lie on your name. They didn't just sabotage opportunities. They aimed straight for your peace. Because when someone can't match your presence, they try to disturb your center. They wanted you triggered. They wanted you broken. They wanted you in pieces, because your inner calm threatened the chaos they survive on. But here's what they didn't expect. While they spun in confusion, you anchored in clarity. While they threw darts, you sat still. And while they screamed for attention, you moved like water, unbothered, fluid, unstoppable. Your peace didn't come from pretending everything was okay. It came from knowing you were never alone in the fire, and that their schemes couldn't touch your soul, no matter how deep they tried to dig. And now, your peace has become your power. Your stillness has become the proof that nothing they did, none of the gossip, the setups, the energy attacks, worked. You're still standing, still glowing, still focused, and that is tormenting them because they couldn't do what they set out to do. They couldn't crack the foundation. They couldn't break your will. They couldn't own your energy. Let's tell the truth. Some of them didn't want to defeat you. They wanted to drain you, to watch you lose sleep, to see you spiral. But instead, they ended up exposing their own chaos while you elevated in silence. They're unraveling in real time while you're sipping your tea with a clear conscience and a rested heart. That peace, it's louder than any revenge. That calm glow you carry, it screams louder than any retaliation ever could. The most haunting part for them, they see now that your peace was never shallow. It's built on strength, on survival, on being tested in the deepest trenches and coming out with a still heart and a clear mind. That level of peace, that terrifies people who feed off dysfunction. They can't understand how you didn't clap back, how you didn't stoop low, how you didn't chase explanations or beg to be understood. But Chosen One, you knew better. You are better. And when you're divinely guided, you realize the most dangerous person in the room isn't the loudest. It's the one who doesn't flinch when the games begin. So now, while they spin webs and exhaust themselves trying to reclaim control, you're resting, you're realigning, and every moment you stay calm while they crumble is justice unfolding with divine timing. You don't need to fight fire with fire when your very peace burns hotter than their chaos ever could. They tried to shake your mental. Instead, you shook their illusions. They thought they were unpredictable, but you became unreadable. And that scares them more than anything, because the version of you that no longer reacts is the version that can't be manipulated, can't be played, can't be stopped. So Chosen One, wear your peace like armor. Let them see you smile and not understand why. Let them hear your silence and feel its weight. You don't owe explanations. You are the explanation. And as your energy remains grounded, the truth is becoming louder through everything you didn't say. They tried to steal your peace. Now they're haunted by it, because it proves something they refuse to admit out loud. Nothing they did was ever enough to stop you. You didn't just survive them, you outgrew them, quietly, beautifully, powerfully. And now, Chosen One, you've seen the full picture. You didn't have to shout, prove, or chase. Your stillness shook them. Your peace exposed them. And your rise made sure they'd never forget who they tried to play with. Because while they were busy plotting your downfall, you became unbothered, unmatched, and absolutely unstoppable. So if this message struck your soul, let the universe know. Drop the number 777 in the comments to mark your elevation. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with another chosen soul who needs this light. Together, we rise in silence, but move with force.